Hi everyone, welcome to the second installment of the Minicam tutorial videos, where I'm going to take you through some more advanced features of Minicam. Namely, two things that I'd like to show you is how to use this little strip at the bottom here, where you can see there's other sources of media you can put into your feed, as well as how do you create objects. How do you use objects that you need, particularly with regards to your classes where you may need some objects that you don't have available in actual physical props. How do you get those into your camera feed where you can use them and the kids can enjoy them? So let's look at the bottom here. Now, depending on what version of the Minicam software you have, if it's a free version, you're going to see that number 1 is going to be your webcam probably, and then number 2 will be available. 3, 4, 5, those are all going to be sort of blocked. If you've paid for various versions, you get up to 12, I think, different sources you can use, but you don't need to have that many. In fact, it becomes rather complicated if you try and use as many as that. But I'm going to show you how to do something quite cool with regards to starting a class. So what I've seen is that when children are waiting, or when the class or the child has now joined the session, often they'll see the teacher sort of starting their webcam or initializing their webcam, or unblocking it. Maybe they have something physically blocking it, and there they are, and there's a moment of, like, I think there's a slickness or an unprofessionalism there. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but it's nice to do something a little bit more, raise the bar with regards to that. So let me show you how this works. I'm going to show you using this camera 3. So what you can do is right click on one of these, whether it's 2 or 3, doesn't matter, and you'll see you can do a lot of things here, but let's focus on media files. Click on media files, and what I like to do is I like to have mine set to the logo of the company. You can have it as image of yourself saying hello, whatever may be the case. But what you're going to see is if I go into my teaching software, yes, there I am as per usual, but if I go to the Minicam software and I click on transition, what it does, it changes me into the image or the media that I've selected. So this is what the kids are going to be seeing before I start the class, which I think is quite slick, it's quite professional, it's quite cool. What you can also do is you can obviously put various elements, anything that you have, any kinds of filters or objects, overlays. You can have speech bubbles, whatever you want. You can have that inside of your media, and you can have that ready. So when you add those things, the kids are going to see them as well, and I think that's a cool way to be ready. Sort of, okay, they join, they know the feed is working, they can see that, they know that you're ready. It just adds that level of polish. So the moment it goes, the class is going to start in 3, 2, 1, I'll just come here and transition into myself, and then I'll be ready for my class. And it's like, wow, it really gets them into the mood. You can obviously choose to do a whole bunch of things there. You can put hello, my name, because what they do is if you put your name there as well, or you put something in there that's quite cool or funny, then it warms them up, because the teacher sees it, they go, oh, look at that, that's a little bear, or that's a little cat, or whatever. And then it also gives that teacher preparing, or the parents, if it's a service where you're teaching one-on-one, something to talk about while they're sort of waiting for you to start at the allocated time, which is really cool. I think it's just a little level of professionalism that takes you into the next level. The second thing I'm going to show you now is how do you create your own objects. Let's say, for example, and I'm going to use that example here, you need to create a piece of cheese, an image of cheese, a particular type of cheese, or whatever may be the case. Minicam.com, you click down here on resources, click on effects, and you may or may not have seen this particular part here, but it says next to catalog, there's create effects. Click on that, and you're going to be greeted with a create your own custom effect and graphic. And it's exactly what it says it is. This is so simple. You decide which category you want to put it in, and this is where it's going to be when you import it into Minicam. So it's an object. I'm going to do cheese, and you can name it something. So name it cheese if it's cheese, but you might have cheese 1, cheese 2. The name you put for it is the name it's going to be imported. So if you search for it in Minicam, it will be there. Click on browse to find your image, and let's say there's my image. It uploads it, and this little virtual head here is exactly where it's going to show up on the screen when you click on it. So if you want to resize it and you want to have something that takes up a lot of the screen, you want it to pop up only by your head, that's perfectly fine. For this example, I'll have it sort of pop up at the top there, and all you simply do is click download. It's as easy as that. You place the download where you want it to, or it will automatically go into downloads, and once it's done, you just click, as simple, easy step, and you're going to find it where you specified, in this case objects, and if I go down here I will eventually see cheese. There's cheese, boom, there it is. As easy as that, and you can interact with it. That's one I imported earlier that I wanted to be big like that, but the second one is, as you can see, smaller and went up above my head. So there you go, as easy as that. You can do a whole bunch of images. You can do whatever you like, really. If it's got a transparent background, that's cool too. There are some file formats it's not happy with. JPEG it's quite fine with, but you can play around. I haven't tested it that extensively to know exactly whether or not. I know that it can't do moving GIFs. I know that it's not happy with that. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe that's something they'll add, but there it is. So that's how you create the objects, and that means that you can also open your lessons, for example, take a screenshot of some of the things you're going to be talking about and have them as interactive elements. So if this cheese was in a lesson, you can now have the same cheese come up and you can say, wow, what's this? I think it helps a lot when someone is learning a language and the objects you're using and the props you're using look very similar to the stuff they're learning in the slides, because then it's like, oh, that's the exact cheese. All right, it triggers something for them, especially when they're at a very fundamentally, I suppose, rudimentary level, very basic level. What happens is they can then see, oh yeah, I remember that picture, which is really cool. Or you could just get better examples if the class you're teaching or the lesson material doesn't have the exact, it doesn't have the real world examples. Maybe you're doing something about a playground, or maybe you're doing something about medical terminology or whatever it may be. I find that finding photorealistic elements really go a long way, because it's like, oh, okay, I've seen that in the real world. And when you are learning a language, that's a great thing to be able to do, is really finely tweak the elements you're using. So that's it, really. It's two oh, wait a minute, let me just eat my cheese. Those are two elements, more advanced elements that you can use. Also within the bottom strip, you could put an image of cheese. For example, you could go to media files and you could find the cheese. It will then take up the screen. What's really cool is then, as you're teaching, in your teaching software, you then talk, okay, I'm going to show you all cheese. Do you all know what it is? You transition while you're talking. Remember, your voice is still going through, and then what they're seeing is a full screen of cheese. Look at that, guys. And it adds such a level of polish and such a level of like production value that the school you're teaching for, or the parents you're teaching for, depending on the approach, whatever company you're working for, what that does is it makes them go, wow, this is like a new level of polish and entertainment. It's just slick, and it's also a heck of a lot of fun. So those are the two more advanced features. I hope that those are useful to you. Have fun teaching. Good luck with your classes, and I will speak to you soon. I'm Ricardo. Bye.